afternoon and welcome to the third Sponsor Spotlight video series from IRRV Severnside Southwest. Today it's a little bit different. It's a bit of a special edition, really. We're calling it Team Ginger because Ian Savagar's on his holidays and we've got Simon Neal and Tom Clark here today. But we're also joined by a long-standing sponsor of the IRRV Severnside, and I'll ask him to introduce himself now, please.
Good afternoon, both. I'm Mark Skirton. I'm Sales Director at Latcham. And we are a specialist print and mail company who are now delving into the world of digital delivery, traditionally known for looking after a lot of councils in the Southwest primarily, but all over the UK, providing council tax work, print and mail, sending it out, annual billing, ad hoc mailings, etc. Working with a number of local authorities at the moment. We're just over the 20 mark when it comes to producing annual billing every year for local authorities.
Great stuff, Mark, and welcome today. So just to warm me up a bit before we delve into some of the more difficult questions, do a little quick fire round. So we're just asking people, to be honest, at this point, have come up with some crazy answers, but such a simple question. Do you prefer tea or coffee, my friend?
I'm definitely a coffee person.
So I'm team coffee as well.
Yeah.
So what kind of coffee?
I have a coffee maker downstairs and my preference is a very strong cappuccino.
Excellent. I'm a cappuccino man as well. Simon, what are you going for?
See, don't do coffee. Never given it as a kid, so I don't think I ever got into it. But the thing is, I know I'd like it because I'll do coffee cake, coffee sweets, you know, an espresso martini I'll have, do you know what I mean? But I'm not going down the coffee route because otherwise I'll be doing 5 to 10 coffees a day, I think. So I've stayed away. I'm a tea person.
2 coffees and 1 tea, that'll do. So Mark as
You're
well.
Yorkshire, Tom, as well. You're Yorkshire. I'm surprised. Sorry.
No, Yorkshire tea is a banging brew, mate.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. But if you had to say to me, can you have a cappuccino or a Yorkshire tea, I would unfortunately have to go for the cappuccino. So there we go. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Mark, obviously, I know that we did an office tour last year at your Bristol offices. So in terms of homework and office working at Latcham, how does that work for employees?
Yeah, it works great. And we basically work on the hybrid model. So most people will be in the office at least 3 or 4 times a week with either 1 or 2 days at home a week. Obviously, the company is set up so much that everyone has the ability to work at home should they want to. And for the business, it works really, really well. Obviously, part of our business is operational. So that does mean that there are members of staff that have to be in the office and have to be, running machines, running and closing lines. We have an inbound mailing solution as well. So, people like that have to be in the office. Obviously, production managers, etc., have to be there. But for sort of what we would call client services, data services, salespeople, certainly salespeople who are obviously going to be spread across the country, then obviously, we're hybrid, and that suits me as well. My personal preference is to be in the office. I'm sales director. I have a team that report into me, so it's great to go in and catch up with those, have sales meetings. But the bottom line is, I think you do need that time away from the office environment in which to get your head down, get stuff done sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know what Simon's like, so I know he works from home quite a bit as well, but when I'm in the office, people just come up to you and ask you questions, don't they? And it sort of punctuates your day, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And we were just saying in the preamble, weren't we? It's absolutely roasting today. It certainly is in Shroud. But in terms of that, obviously having the aircon in the office is a bit of a bonus as well, isn't it? This time.
Absolutely. I was in the office yesterday, and it was like a chiller in there. It was lovely. Yeah.
Excellent. So you've explained a bit to us, Mark, about Latcham and sort of the services you provide to different local authorities. So what makes Latcham a little bit different to similar organisations on the market?
I think for us, it's our expertise and our experience. We work very much as a sector-based company. So we have a lot of our sort of sales guys and our client services people very much specialising in different sectors. So I'm very much public sector. I have done that. So I work with utilities. I work with local government. I'm working with education, but we also have sales and marketing and client services guys that are working in membership, financial services. So we're very specialist and we're very niche in those markets. So I think what you'll find with Latcham is if you're speaking to somebody and say you are, a local authority, you want to talk to Latcham about something, we will have a breadth of knowledge going back a number of years. I think somebody said in the office yesterday when we were putting a tender submission together that another organisation had said that they had about 40 or 50 combined years of experience. I think we're well over 150 years of combined experience, because you've got lots of people here in our organisation that have had 30 or 40 years in the industry who know everything. I go back as far as the late 80s, early 90s. So I remember the poll tax. You know, I remember all the iterations of revenue generation. And obviously I'm a member of the IRRV, so I go to conference every year. I pick up on all the legislation. So I think if you were somebody that were talking to Latcham about what you wanted to do, you'd get that comfort that you are talking to somebody that knows exactly what. And we feel your pain as well, absolutely as well. So we know exactly the landscape in which you're doing. So we're a safe pair of hands, and we've been doing it for a long period of time. You know, I think the fact, as I've already alluded to, the fact that we're doing over 20 local authorities says something about how we go about things, and a lot of those customers are people that have been using us for years and years and years and years.
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And you don't have to name the councils, of course, but sort of geographically, what areas do you work in?
Yeah, I mean, geographically very strong in Devon, and we'll come on to challenges later. I know there's a question on challenges later, and obviously local government reorganisation is going to be a challenge moving forward. We do Somerset Council, so we've obviously been working in real partnership with them from the 4 separate local authorities, moving that into one local authority. The migration of all those software systems moving into one software system, and working with them probably for a year and a half to get that over the line, and obviously into one platform and one channel, etc. for them. But we go as far up as the Midlands. So we're doing Stratford-on-Avon. We go over to Hampshire. We go over to London, Royal Borough of Kingston and Thames. We do their council tax work as well. So we're really quite widespread in terms of geographical area.
No, that's great. And yeah, Simon's going to ask the next few, and I'll get back in touch with you there.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because obviously Somerset, I've worked with Somerset as well, and obviously they're ahead of the local government reforms as such. So you doing those 5 councils into one as such. So
yeah,
I mean, what's the main challenges that the local authorities is happening to them at the moment? Are you able to, you go to the events, you're on the IRRV, you're listening to the problems. Are you able to give it from your perspective of what the challenges you're finding? Of like you say, the local government reform is a big one. Something as simple as getting the logo on the billing itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's not the case, is it? You know, we obviously speak to councils that have gone through that change already. Obviously, we've got Devon and Hampshire, where we've got quite a lot of customers at the moment that are going to be going through that next year into the following year. And I think the biggest challenge is financial. Obviously, everyone forgets you've got the purse strings, and those are tight, and people have to get a project delivered within budget and within a time scale. But you've also got the challenge of getting that particular project over the line in the time it needs to be over the line, and working with councils who've got a proper project management plan in place and a timetable to say, this is where we are now, this is where we want to be. And we'll work with councils to make sure that that what we call that onboarding process is done exactly as required. And that means, you know, meetings. We're still meeting Somerset on a weekly basis. A year later, after they first started to migrate over, we had a meeting with them this morning. Sometimes they only last 10 minutes, and it's just ticking that box, making sure that everybody knows where they are, and pushing that over the line to make sure we're in a comfortable place. We are actually just about to get the Somerset project finalised. They are just migrating, and you may know this, but speaking to them, they're just migrating over to what we call a combined structure, i.e. all the councils are going to be using the same software, the same version of software. So we're getting one build file rather than 4 build files. We're getting, you know, one set of benefit letters rather than loads of benefit letters. So it makes life easier for us. But it's been a challenge, but we've delivered as far as we're concerned. Yeah.
And I take it that's the main sector that's changed for you over the years, is all going forward is going to change over the years. You say you work with the Devon clients and so forth, and I assume you've seen the changes that have been announced over the past week or two. So do you get ahead of the game and try and, you said you work with Devon, so I'm using them as the example again, but do you get ahead of the game and you're speaking to them already about the changes that are going on? And
Absolutely. We're talking to the customers. Obviously, it's about this time of the year we start talking to people about next year's annual billing, making sure we've got everybody kind of in place, people who want to work with us again next year. But obviously, next year is going to be a big change. So we're having conversations with those customers at the moment, and I think this forum, the IRRV, the Severnside and Southwest Association, is absolutely key for us because, of course, we can also have those conversations with those Devon councils that will be coming to events and having those conversations with them face to face. A few of them have been at previous meetings. I'm sure that some of them will be at the event in September, which is really, really good for us because that means we can talk to people face to face and network properly, and that's what this is all about for us.
I mean, you mentioned obviously the event coming up is September the 10th, isn't it? The IRRV, which is at Latcham's and that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Tom's got anything on that and you want to promote it, Tom. But
No,
I think that'd be
my
the
favourite one,
opportunity, isn't it? Yeah, to show what we're doing on it.
Literally.
I think the agenda's nearly finalised, isn't it? So
It is. We've got a bit of a professional development morning. Like I say, it's in Bristol at Latcham's offices. I love that because it's literally a 20-minute drive from where I live, so perfect for me.
Yeah.
But in terms of the day, like I say, we've got professional development focus in the morning, talking about apprenticeship opportunities and qualifications. In the afternoon, it's turning into more of a masterclass in annual billing with a slight flavour of is what we've been talking about, local government reorganisation. So
Yeah.
we're really looking forward to that. Brilliantly hosted last year. Mark had involved a tour of the office, so I'm hoping that's the same again because I missed out on that last year because I had to hot foot it quite early.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So I'm going to make sure I drag you out into the factory this time, and you can have a look around. Yeah, we're very proud of what we've got, and that's one thing I will say about hosting these events. You know, we do every event we host, and we had the last event. We had the Association of Financial Mutuals on site, and they had the same event pretty much as the event you're going to have. We hosted them. They had about 30 people on site. They all had lunch. Some of them were not that keen on looking around the factory, but we said, come on, we're going to press gang you. You need to come around. You're here on site. You might as well see some big printing machines while you're here. And when we took them out, they were totally engaged in what we were doing. It was like, oh my goodness me, I didn't realise that this place did this, and so it's good. So I'm hoping we'll be able to offer the same to you. Obviously, some of the people that are coming on the 10th of September will have seen it before. There'll be people that haven't seen it, so I'm sure it'll be an eye opener for them.
No,
I mean, I went on it and it opened my eyes up to it. Do you know what I mean? You know, greatest respect. I wasn't expecting the size of the place. You know what I mean? The different things that you offer, the fact of your digital comms, which I think you said you'll speak about at some point.
Absolutely.
But it was just amazing the different needs from it, which I wouldn't particularly think about myself. So, I mean, I don't know what you see the biggest challenge or the biggest opportunity that's coming up for yourselves with all these changes coming on, and in some ways, you know, I just mentioned it itself as, you know, a lot of communication is changing to the digital comms.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you can give us any updates on that sort of thing and how you're progressing in that.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge for us, obviously. And, you know, we could talk about the Royal Mail for the rest of the afternoon, but we're not going to, because, you know, people are, I think, losing confidence in the Royal Mail. Plus, obviously, we know there's a price advantage if you can move your comms over from a physical piece of mail over to a digital piece of, and I know that years ago, central government were very keen on this buzzword, you know, digital first kind of thing. You've got to start thinking about sending stuff across. I think one of the most challenging things for us is that we're traditionally known as a print and mail company. And people don't realise that we actually do the digital comms as well. We can send out digital comms. We can provide platforms for customers to go in and upload stuff. One of the biggest sort of growth areas for us over the last few years has been what we call our hybrid mail solution, which is our brand name for that is IntelliDoc. Somerset are currently using it for most of their daily transactional mail, and that's basically providing an easy route to printing documents. It's a light touch. You don't really need to do any document composition. It's pushed through a system. There's a dashboard. You get visibility of everything that you can see on the dashboard. So you can see that you've submitted your documents. Great, it's submitted, it's there. But you can also see where it is in production, when it gets dispatched, and up to a certain time of the day. If you suddenly go, I shouldn't have sent that document, or I want to take that document, you've got the opportunity to delete that document before it goes into the print queue. But on the back of that, we can also provide that digital delivery. We can provide emails if people want an email being sent out. We can provide a secure link if they want a secure link going out with a document available on a portal for people to pick up. If people are conscious of the security in sending out an attachment, PDF attachment, not always the safest way to send something out. And we provide that to a number of our local authorities already. And it's kind of one of those hidden things that we're, as a business, trying to promote, that people think, oh no, Latcham, they're all about paper and envelopes. Actually, we're not about paper and envelopes. We are about the rest of it as well.
No, that's great, Matt. It sounds crazy to say, but I mean, like I say, I've worked for quite a few different councils, being a contractor over the years, and I won't name or embarrass the council, but one I worked at quite recently. The reason they gave for not sending emails was because 10 years ago, so this is back in 2015-16, the benefits manager at that point said they wouldn't ever know if somebody actually received the email, so they refused to send them.
Yeah.
And fast forward 10 years, no one ever questioned that.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was get them to send emails, and it was
Yeah.
groundbreaking for said council, but I felt like I was going back in time because I was doing that like 15, 20 years ago other places.
Yeah,
So
I know.
you won't believe it. Yeah.
And there are very, I mean, as you know, there are very clever things you can do now. So one of our solutions is to provide a link to a PDF, basically. So you go in, you click the link, you go through, you pick up your PDF. What that does is that it obviously means that it's securely retrieved by the customer, but we have also got the capability of letting the customer, i.e. you, know, or whoever it is, that document has been read. And it's being picked,
do you have to encrypt the document or something to make sure that? So how does that work? Does somebody have to put like a reference number in, or the postcodes?
Yes, absolutely. So it works on that basis. Either a login. We do a number of payroll applications. Obviously, that's not for this particular forum. But again, people getting a payslip every month, they will go in. They'll be sent an email to say your payslip's ready to view. You'll log in then. So that's a login scenario. So you've got a username and a password. You log in. You go into a dashboard. All your previous payslips are there as well, but you've probably downloaded them. You can download them as a PDF to your download folder, but also you could go back in there and retrieve the documents that you've had in the last few months. So that's the most secure way of doing it. But there are other ways of doing it. You can do things like validate your postcode, for example, and as long as you input your postcode, that will allow you to retrieve that document. A much more simple way of doing it. And if you're receiving one annual council tax bill a year, then why would you want to do anything other than that? Because people don't really want a repository with lots of bills. They just want to get their council tax bill. They'll print it off if they want to print it off, or they'll download it to their computer if they want to download it, and that's it, job done.
No, absolutely. Like I say, usually it's on a good form thing, isn't it? Seeing how much you need to pay, but also
see how much it's gone up.
See how much it's gone up by, that's one thing. But also people use it as a proof of ID, don't they, for a lot of different things.
Of course they do. Absolutely.
Which I find absolutely bizarre, because you could go, anyone could log onto a local council website and do an online form with lack of validation. You could pop, Donald Duck had moved into Regent Street in Stroud, and it would send you a bill. So I think it's bizarre that people do that, but hey ho.
Yeah,
I digress a little bit. But Mark, you've mentioned there about some of the sort of new products and initiatives you're involved in at Latcham. So in terms of what a buzzword in local authority at the moment, or in fact, not even just in local authority, just in life in general, is sort of artificial intelligence. So do Latcham, have you dipped your toes into that? How's it gone?
Yeah, absolutely. We have. Yeah, we have to. I think at the end of the day, anyone that doesn't embrace AI is going to be left behind. So yes, we have embraced it. Obviously, we're embracing it internally as people are using Copilot, they're using Claude, ChatGPT, and on a daily basis in terms of documentation. I've been working on a job role for a particular person, and we're using AI to generate that job role based on a number of rules and suggestions that you put in, and all of a sudden it builds it up very nicely for you. But from a business perspective, we're also using it as well. And a good example of that, as I think I mentioned, as well as outbound mail, we do inbound mail. So we're taking documents back from customers that are either returned or people have filled in and the client hasn't got the resource to do anything with that themselves. They don't have the staff. We've got very, very clever software, lots of people, lots of scanning machines. And we've now started to use AI to interpret those documents and to read those documents in a much more efficient and better way than they were before. So basically before, you'd scan a document and the computer would either say yes or no. Yeah, I've got that, or no, I don't like that. AI brings a whole new different perspective to the inbound mail that we're doing, and it can pick up on handwritten notes. For example, if somebody scribbles something outside an area they should have done, it can it can provide that information and report on that, which is really useful for the customer, because the customer goes, yeah, we know we get lots of forms and people write all over the forms, but we don't always know what they've written and captured it effectively. This provides that information back to them. So in terms of AI moving forward, I can see the next step for us is our data programmers. So these are the guys that compose all the documents, whether that's a physical mail piece or a digital mail piece. They're taking data, they're importing that into a background template, for example. Sometimes they don't have to do that. PDFs are supplied by the client, depending on what software is used. And I can see that our document composition software will start to be operated through AI rather than a human being. And I'm not saying that's going to completely release the human intervention into it. Of course it's not, but it's going to speed things up and probably make the accuracy of that document much better. So yeah, we're not stepping back. We're fully embracing the AI revolution to a point. Not getting too heavily involved in it, but we're certainly not ignoring it.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
I think,
Sounds
like
like
you say,
sorry, I was saying, no, it's all about, for me, it's you're talking about time resource there, aren't you? You're saving councils in this case, or companies' time, and obviously the cost savings in that as well, because you're doing the sorting before it's physically going back. And if it's recognising 80% and the other person's have to do the 20%, it's that time saving, it's that resource saving, cost saving. It's just, I think you're right. And if you're not embracing it, then you get left behind, don't you? So
yeah, definitely, yeah.
I was just going to say, I see it as a facilitator rather than an end product, because like you said, people think you'll just use it to speak to customers and do the whole job, but it's not. It's about making life easier for you, isn't it?
Too right.
I mean, certainly really interested to hear from you both on what you use it for outside of work, because one of my absolute favourite things to do is to use AI when I can't think of what to cook. I'll just take a photo of my fridge and my cupboard and say, make me a meal. And then some of the things it's come up with have been absolutely mind blowing. And especially when Christmas leftovers, mate. Oh, it was a game changer. So
absolutely, yeah, a bit of a change from bubble and squeak or whatever you're going to have.
Oh, definitely. I had a bacon and prawn curry, and I thought that sounds a bit weird, but oh my god, it was lovely.
Yeah.
I'm sticking by that's weird. That's AI confusing me on that part. I don't know if I'm sticking bacon with prawn.
What about you, Simon? Use it for much at home?
I don't really. Obviously, it's integrated in your phone, isn't it? So mine's just the speaking into it. Do you know what I mean? Asking it just quick answers, like, often in my job and stuff, I've been traveling about, how long is it going to take me to get from there, rather than inputting it, finding out the distance and stuff. It's just, for me, personal wise, it's just a time saving thing. It's just so quick, but it's integrated in everything you use now, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So they're embracing it without you knowing it anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the thing. We're all using AI without actually knowing sometimes that AI is responsible for some of the input you're getting back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, a lot of people use large language models, but you've got lots of different elements of it. And you mean Google Maps is one of the biggest open source large language models you see. People have been using that for years, haven't they? They think that you just get from A to B really quickly without any use of it, then And what scares me a little bit is sometimes when you have a conversation at home, it's almost like your phone's listening, because then all of a sudden you start seeing adverts for things. That's when it freaks me out a little bit. But generally speaking, I'm quite an advocate for it.
Well, I was going to say that's slightly different in the sense that's an algorithm going. They've talked about that. We're going to feed that back into whatever company, and the company goes, oh yeah, we'll send them out an advert for that because they've only just been talking about it. That £1 million yacht that you were having a conversation, all of a sudden you're getting adverts for £1 million yachts, aren't you? And you're going, oh yeah, must buy one next week. We wish.
Like I say, I can talk about AI for hours. It's fascinating. But Mark, sort of, what do you see as sort of like the next big opportunity for Latcham?
It's a difficult one because we're at that, as I said, at that crossroads now, really, where for us, the raw mail are kind of not providing a particularly good service. They're also putting their prices up. And as I said, the traditional model for Latcham has been print and mail. But in terms of opportunities moving forward, obviously we've embraced the digital landscape. As I said, we've talked about that. We've talked about the fact that we're doing the inbound mail as well, which is fantastic, and we're using AI to make that really efficient. But we're starting to work in other areas of business outside. Sort of we're working very much in the healthcare sector at the moment, in terms of fulfillment, in terms of providing kitting. What we mean by that is when you receive a kit with a a blood test or whatever in that kit, we're starting to get involved in that, and we see that as a huge growth area for the business moving forward. So we're looking at different markets to see whether Latcham can offer different products within different sort of channels, as it were, or different sectors. We're still seeing huge growth in the membership sector as well. That's been a big sector growth for us. But in terms of local government, we started doing some work outside of Revs and Bens. So we've always been traditionally very strong in elections. So we do print election work. When there's an election, we're very much in there. We're members of the AEA, which is the similar, the equivalent as the IRRV to the elections teams. We attend their national conference every year. And we started getting into obviously the waste arena is a huge growth area for Latcham, because obviously most councils now are being asked to do a lot more in terms of their recycling, curb collections, garden waste collections, and we're seeing a huge growth in local government within that area. You wouldn't believe the number of councils we currently deal with, where we provide a mailing service for sending out the garden waste collection bin label. There you are. So if you pay your subscription for garden waste, some councils will issue you with a label which you stick on your garden waste bin. You may
I can see mine from the window. Yeah.
So we are doing a lot of those mailings as well at the moment, and that's a growth area for us. 2 years ago, we probably weren't doing very many. Now we're doing 6 or 7 councils, and that's growing.
Oh, that's good. Do you not think it's a bit of a dodge though, that, Matt? Because I always used to think, because obviously I live in Stroud, and obviously it's Gloucestershire County Council, but it's changing soon. But
it is, yeah.
I could literally just peel a sticker off my neighbours and put it on my bin, and they would know the difference. I always think that's a little bit. Maybe I'm just a bit of a cynic, but yeah.
No, I get that, and the label really shouldn't be peelable. You should not be able to peel that label off your bin.
Oh, I definitely can peel.
Yeah. So there are different. I won't get into the technicalities.
Obviously, it's not Latcham that does Gloucestershire.
Exactly, because it's meant to be extra permanent. You're meant to, as soon as you stick it on the bin, you're not meant to be able to take that off without it ripping. It should rip as you turn it off. So maybe Stroud are using a cheap alternative.
Yeah, they must be, because it's definitely peeling off. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, remind me, Lynn, you talked about a few of the things you're doing there, but is there one particular project or scheme you're thinking of that stands out? And I don't know if I can make this a 2-tier question, but is there something that also comes back to local authorities and things you're doing like that, or is there just one that stands out that maybe we should all be using? Do you know what I mean?
I think the one that stands out is the one I've probably talked about earlier on, is the Somerset Council migration over to where we are now. When we used to deal with all 4 authorities in Somerset, all using 4 different software companies, if I'm right. One was using their own in-house software, one was using Civica, one was not using Northgate, and it was migrating everything. It was just the project management of it, and I see that as an opportunity for us, because that's a great story for Latcham to say, look, we've helped deliver this piece of work for a very large local authority, now a unitary authority in the UK, by working with them very, very closely and making sure that we help with the migration into one software solution. It got a little bit complicated at stages, because of course we were still calling it Somerset Council, because yes, they were already a unitary authority, but we were getting data files from four different sources. It still had to say Somerset Council, but it could have been a Civica output, it could have been an NES, so all of that is complicated. And as I said earlier on, we get to the end of that delivery, I'm very proud of what my team has done to deliver an excellent service. And we talked about local government reorganisation. As far as I'm concerned, if those kind of scenarios crop up again, we have got a great story to tell in how we can help councils deliver seamlessly, efficiently, and with as little hassle as possible.
Yeah,
So really, councils need to reach out to you and try and speak to you about this early doors. And with my Severnside and Southwest head on as well, do you present on these things? Do you talk to people about, as much as I'm saying councils, do you do it in a bigger picture? So you're willing to speak at events and speak to people about these? Because, you know, that's what we need out there, is the people who've been through it, who know what they're doing, and can give the advice ahead of it, get ahead of the game.
Yeah, no, we've been in the trenches for sure. We did a project with Buckinghamshire, a similar thing to the Somerset one a number of years ago. So we've been through it two or three times now. Both times absolutely successful projects, and got the two authorities over the line exactly to budget and exactly on time. So going back to that point, Simon, is absolutely yes. If we can talk to people, you know, at one of your events about this, and absolutely we'd stand up and talk to people about it.
No, definitely. We've got the head of service coming from Somerset Council, Mark, so I definitely think you should be having a double conversation with that, where he will explain a bit about the reorganisation, and then you can feed into our annual billing masterclass talk by saying this is what we've done and this is what we're going to do. So it's almost like we plan these things, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? It's serendipity, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that will work really, really well. Really, really well.
Yeah.
So we're getting towards the end, Matt, but I've got a couple more questions for you. So there's, like I say, if you could give just one piece of advice to local authorities right now, bearing in mind everything you said today, what would it be?
Well, do you want me to be contentious?
You be as contentious as you like. I actually prefer that.
Have a word with their software suppliers to kind of bring the software that you're using up to the modern day. We've talked about, you know, all the advances we're making in AI and everything. I think one of the biggest frustrations we have sometimes is the output that we receive from local authorities from the software provider that they're currently using. And I'm not naming any names here, but sometimes we have to do
There's only
stuff.
3 or 4 marks.
I know. Well, I mean, you could probably put 2 and 2 together, because you know what Somerset are probably using in terms of their software. But that for us during that whole project was the biggest frustration we had, was some of the output was generally quite old-fashioned. And also, I think the bit that we couldn't get our heads around was that there was no flexibility in terms of going away and saying, "Oh, yeah, actually, no, we can sort that. We can get a developer onto that, and we'll get that sorted for you. We understand why that's happening." It's kind of, no, sorry, computer says no, you have to have it in this format, and that creates pressure for my guys internally. My data guys have to do stuff that they shouldn't really be having to do. We're not talking about manipulating data or anything like that, but kind of positions and moving stuff around and the way it comes in. That is I would honestly say that's probably our biggest bugbear over the years. It is, you know, that sort of legacy software that's extracting the information that we're using has just been inflexible.
Completely agree. And what really annoys me as well is that, like you say, we've talked about AI, and in this day and age, Mark, it just shouldn't be an issue, should it?
No,
and
no.
You get a data file out, how easy would it be to say, you mentioned Copilot, can you just move this here or that there? It is so easy, but you will see that there's a lot of, like I say, it's what I often find. I use this example as sort of as a revenues and benefits man myself. Often you'll find that I'm the bus driver trying to take the service where I want to go, but often you find that the IT constraints, i.e. the engine, is often the one driving the bus rather than the driver. And I do have a lot of sympathy for a lot of my learned friends across the industry, because that is often what you will find, is that, and it's not always councils, like you say, it's your software suppliers, where they basically just say, no, that's the way you're having it, and that's that. And that is quite frustrating, as you say.
And I think
I'm glad you raised it as well, because it gives them a chance to. I don't see why they wouldn't act on it and be ahead of the game. I keep saying about being ahead of the game because of the changes coming up, but why would you not want to listen to that feedback?
Well, I'm not going to big up certain fintech suppliers I'm on the call, Simon, because today is about Latcham, but there's a fairly large one that I work with, and instead of saying you get it this way, it's like, which way do you like it? Do you like it in this way, this way, this way?
Yeah,
and that's the way it should be.
Exactly. And I think for me, probably the biggest bugbear in that is, yes, it takes up our guys' time in terms of internally, but it sometimes ends up the council having to spend more money because of the inflexibility, and I don't like that. I mean, it's
I call them. We've often referred to them as a cartel. Said software suppliers, but they're a friendly cartel. Like when you speak to them, but they act like one, is in like it's like you get it this way and that's that, and I say it is frustration. But no, that's a really good point, actually. It's one of my favourite ones we've had so far.
Yeah.
And this one has pushed a few people as well, but have a little think. But if you could describe the future of local government in one word, just one word, what would you use and why?
Well, the one word I would use is transformation. And
Okay.
I mean that, and I mean that in a number of different areas, not just digital transformation, which is where most people would say transformation is. I think transformation across the whole piece. So that's technology, that's people, that's how councils operate, and I think that's the only way that the model will be successful into the future, is by transforming. And I think, some councils are ahead of others in terms of that transformation journey. But I think that for me, and from our business, we want to work with those forward-thinking local authorities that have got transformation in mind, and go on the journey with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure we've only had 3 of these, but we've had 3 different words so far, and I'm really looking forward to a word bubble at the end of this, and seeing what people think. 'Cause some of them have been quite derogatory, and others have been like, that was quite an optimistic one, so that's great.
Well, it is, because I think, I mean, I deal with so many people in local authorities, and 99.9% of those people are really good people that really want to do the right thing and really move things forward.
It's a very high percentage, Mark. I'm not sure
It
I agree
is.
with it, if it be that high.
I was probably being diplomatic, wasn't it? Wasn't I?
But yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. So Mark, if people want to find out more about Latcham, obviously they can come to Bristol on the 10th of September. But apart from that, how do people get in touch with you?
People get in touch with us through a number of means. Obviously, I have another colleague, Matthew Perkins, who's also in the local authority space. So really getting hold of myself or Matthew directly, or through LinkedIn, all of those other channels, then that's the easiest place to get hold of us, really, is link into us, contact us directly. You'll get a call back at a Teams meeting and a chat to introduce Latcham and talk about what we do.
Super professional response, that, Mark, because in the first one, it was dead funny when guy was giving out his email and telephone number, and I did explain it goes on YouTube, and like anyone be calling. But that was a great answer.
You can find us on LinkedIn, absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, perfect. And one final message for the IRRV Severnside members, please, Mark. If you could give them one final message today, what would it be? One
final message is come to see us on the 10th of September. Have a chat with us informally over a cup of tea, and I say cup of tea, or a cappuccino if you really want one.
Yes, tea and coffee,
and let us talk to you about what we do. Not just the physical print and mail, but other bits and pieces that we do. But also let us show you the super facility that we've got, and you'll understand that people are in a safe pair of hands if they want to engage and talk to Latcham about any of the services that we offer. We've also just installed solar panels on the roof. Not sure if they were there last September, but they are now. So we're completely reliant on our own electricity that we generate, some of which goes back into the grid. So we've got a super environmental story to tell everybody as well.
I'm sure from memory, a couple of people were taking advantage of the charging points as well outside.
Correct, that's right. So, yes, absolutely. So lots of it. I'm not sure.
I take it, are you at Telford as well, Mark? Are you attending the autumn conference? And
you will see us at Telford. We have a stand at Telford. Indeed.
So people can catch you there as well, so no problem at all.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thanks very much, both. Really enjoyed that one. Thanks for your time today.